Hi everyone, welcome to the channel's first ever hobby vlog episode. So this is going to be a separate video series compared to the competitive list analyses that we do every week, and just different from what you'll typically see in terms of the competitive side. So this is really just dedicated more towards the hobby aspect of the hobby, which is obviously very important when you pick an army. So with that said, I also just want to apologize in advance for when I recorded this video. I was not used to filming with my phone, so I recorded it vertically and then realized in post that I need to actually have it filmed in landscape mode instead. So I did some cropping so I wouldn't have to scrap the entire video, and because of that, it's super zoomed in. It should still be very clear though, but a little zoomed in. I learned this for next time where I'll be filming horizontally going forward. Hi guys, welcome to the first hobby talk episode. This might actually be the second one, depending on the order in which I decide to release these, but I just wanted to make this one tonight because I was thinking about weathering for my scheme, and before I finalized the weathering component, I figured I'd record it first so I could see how it looks tomorrow after I'm done applying the varnish and the wash to everything to darken it down. So this is basically the scheme I'm going for with my Votann army. So I'll talk more about it in my other video, which is probably going to be the first one. So if you did see the first one first, and that's the order I released it in, this is really the scheme I'm going for with this army. And I'm really proud of how it came out. So I'm going for a dark iron dwarf Votann aesthetic. So really just inspired from World of Warcraft and inspired from a post I saw on Reddit and on Instagram about a guy who painted his Leagues of Votann like this as well. So I kind of tried my hand at replicating it and changed up the base to make it a little more lunar themed and planetary, which I think really worked out well. So super happy with how this came out. Now, one of the things I'm concerned with for my vehicles, if we take a look at the Sagittar here, it's that, I got to test the scheme out here too. Same colors, right? Like with the red, the black, the metallics, and some gold for the canopy here. But I just find it looks a little dull. So I did weather it before I applied the matte varnish and the wash to tone things down. You can kind of see that a little bit, like over here, or on some of the side panels, the back. But I just find it looked a little dull compared to my infantry or my fast attacks, like my bikes. And I think the reason for that is because with a scheme like this that's so dark and matte, you need the glow to really bring the model to life. If it didn't have this orange glow, then it would look really boring and it wouldn't catch the eye. And it contrasts well, of course, with the bright white base, so the model stands out. But for vehicles, you don't have a base, right? And for these vehicles in particular, you don't have much opportunity to put glow. So I tried to put it a little bit on the guns at the bottom here, kind of like a sight or a light. I tried to put one at the top there on the turret gun, but that's really it, except for the back, where again now it looks a lot better, right? Because you see there's some contrasting colors there. For the wheels, I tried to make those a little dusty with some white pigments, but it just, again, like, I just feel like it's visually underwhelming when compared to the infantry and fast attack units in my list, because there's just fewer opportunities for me to actually place like eye-catching visuals, like with the glow, for example. So this takes me to the issue now of how do I simulate or create an alternative way that's still cohesive with my army, but to make these pop a little bit more. And so this one is completed, but I think, and you'll see in a bit why, I think I'm going to come back and make some slight changes to this. So this is my current project, the Hekaton. And you can see it's really bright and a lot of weathering, super heavy. But I haven't had a chance yet to come in and tone it down with the dark wash or with the matte varnish. So I wanted to film this tonight again because I'm going to do all that tonight. And then tomorrow I'll be able to see the finished result, which should be more in line with the level of matte that we see here with these remaining models, because right now it stands out like a sore thumb, obviously. But again, like I really tried to capture the essence of the squad, the units in my army that have that same 3 or 4 colors. Same with the vehicle, but in this alternate model here compared to the Sagittar, I decided to try something a little different and put some of the transfers on. So you could see here, primarily I put the transfer on every side. So I got one transfer here, I got one transfer there. There should be one in the back as well here, and then I got one on the side. And so what I wanted to try to capture with this is put something white on the base, because the infantry and the bikes have white on the base, which contrasts the black and makes it stand out. But for these vehicles, I felt like the wheels weren't really cutting it. And so I decided to put some white on the model itself in a way that doesn't break up my color scheme and kind of just fits in seamlessly, but is still distinct enough visually to catch your eye and just make everything else look a lot better as a whole. So I feel so far like this did a good job of doing that, of accomplishing that goal. Just having a little bit of white in the form of these transfers, just placed at a couple key places where you look at it and it just catches your eye. And that's a good focus point. Now, you can see here, I also went really, really heavy with the weathering. I think it's best captured from this angle here. You can see all down the side, really heavy weathering in the front as well. Same up here. And the reason I did that is because you lose a lot of it when you tone down the colors. So after applying the wash, after matting it down, you end up with something, honestly, that looks like this. So it's really dark still. And I didn't go as crazy on this. And that's why I wanted to push myself and push the model further visually to try to just put as many as I can and make them really bright so that when I do tone it down, they should still pop and stand out. Because I find this one looks a little bit boring. So that's what I wanted to try to do with this. I put some on, and I think it looks good. It looks really heavy, but if my theory is correct, after I'm done applying the wash and the matte varnish, it should really tone down the visuals. So I'm going to do that tonight, and then we'll see how that comes out tomorrow. Okay, guys. So we're back. I had a chance to apply my dark wash and my matte varnish to the model and wait several hours. And then I ended up getting this as a final result, but I did do some little touch-ups, so I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it was namely just some small highlights that you could see here, dirty highlighting, and some light stippling on the red as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So this is what we get as an end result for the body, for the frame of the vehicle. And like I predicted here, we actually do see that the weathering is basically all but disappeared. So I'm happy I went as heavy as I did, because now I can actually see some differentiation on the panel lining. There's some interest or depth to the colors here, even though they're really muted and dark. I could still tell that this is something that's visually interesting. My eye wonders. It gets stuck here, then it looks over here. So I think it's really cool that I was able to get that effect that breaks it up. So I'm happy about that, because when we compare it to the Sagittar, you can see it's tough to see that differentiation. It's very light relative to this one, which, I mean, it's not bad, but again, it's very boring. It's very boring. And oops, so I went heavier, like I said before, and this was the end result. See, it's much more muted, toned down. You still got that weathering effect. Now, for the decals, which was the thing I was really curious about testing, we'll start in the back, because I think this one came out the best. So we got this one in the back here, which is the brightest. and I like it. I think it's nice. It helps to break up the black. It keeps it visually interesting, like I said, and we were able to apply some weathering to this as well. It looks like some streaks, and I think this kind of fits the actual location on the model. If we were to imagine this as being a real vehicle, and this hatch would open, it would drag across the floor, so you get these nice vertical streaks of grime or rust or decay, and the metal that kind of shines through, or if there's like an accumulation of humidity or water that kind of falls down, it would streak vertically here. So I think that looks nice. I think it looks good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, this one, this one basically disappeared. I think I might have gone too heavy with the wash. I tried to brighten it up again with white paint, and it came out terrible. So I washed it again, and then it came out even darker. So I'm really kind of disappointed in how this one looks. But I mean, from far it looks okay. I think if you really come in close to inspect it, you'll see a lot of flaws. I'm not sure how I could touch this one up further. I can only hope that when I apply the lighting, the lighting to the model, like here, for example, and there, it'll help to distract you from the bad decal over there. This one here, I think, came out fine at the top. It's nice. This is probably the perfect level of clarity that I'd be looking for a decal here of the white. It just sits on the model. It's quite nice. I tried to integrate it a little bit with the stippling and with some of the burn marks here or the weathering. I think it looks okay. And then here, this one on the side as well came out. I'd say it came out all right too. So some thoughts. I think I did go too crazy with the weathering. And more specifically, I think it's a little too disjointed. It's in places that don't really make sense to be on a model. Like why would there be weathering here, here, and here? Like why would there not be one on this line here, right at the merge of both tiles at the corner pieces, where you would expect them to naturally get weathered and damaged? I think in my head it was more just the focus on break up the black, make it visually interesting, sharpen the colors. And then I kind of got lost in that, and I ended up not getting a very realistic looking weathering effect. Now, I think my saving grace here is that thematically, I'm playing a Dark Iron Dwarf Leagues of Votann list, which means that this army lives in mountains. And I think that kind of makes sense because, if you imagine that you're tunneling through mountains and through dirt and caverns, you're going to have a lot of debris that kind of just falls down. It rains down on the vehicle. It scratches along the sides in random places. It kicks up dirt. Maybe it's part of an excavation crew, so you got the miners who are kind of just gathering the minerals, and the tools are splattering some rocks, and they're hitting the sides. So it's kind of like pelleted. I kind of like how it came out with that respect because it fits thematically. Like there's a narrative here, which makes me feel a little bit more confident in how this came out, this accident. So I think that's okay, and I think it works. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mentioned I did some stippling. I like how the stippling came out too. I hadn't done any on the Sagittar, but I think that's one of the things I'm going to start incorporating for my vehicles is just stipple on some of the red to make it come back to life a bit, just to differentiate it from the black panels, just make it a little brighter, a little more visually interesting. For the metallics, I did a little bit of a dirty highlight because they came out really dark, and I'm not too happy with how it looks, but again, it sort of fits that grimy, dirty, cavernous tunneling aesthetic. So I think it works. I could get away with it. But on my next hekaton that I'm going to do, I'm definitely going to try just dry brushing metallic on instead of painting it by brush. I think it'll just be a little bit of a cleaner look. I think overall I just went too dirty on this one for my personal taste. But I think it's okay overall. Once I put the light, it should help to detract from any of the flaws that are very visible, because now the focus is on the weathering, but once we get some color in for the glows, your eyes should be drawn to that, and everything else will kind of just blend in. will blend in nicely. So those are my thoughts overall. I think, you know, the wins here definitely should put more weathering on my vehicles, but I should keep it controlled and contained to places where weathering would naturally emerge, and maybe go a little bit lighter in the middle just to break up the patterns or the dull colors. And for the decals, I really like the decals. I'm going to start putting them on all my vehicles, but I'm going to go much lighter on the wash so that I don't end up with a situation where the decal has essentially faded away to nothing. And then some of them are still super bright. But overall, I think it's fine. And I'm kind of happy with it. So I'll leave it as it is for now. And the next step will be just to apply my lighting and finish up the model. So hopefully this will be done by next week. So when I do a third hobby video, maybe an army showcase so far, we'll be able to take a look at it then and just comparatively look and see if there was much of an improvement after adding the lighting effects. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and for checking out the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.